are back at Iron Eagle Tactical Gun Shop, and we're with our good friend, Mr. Tom Abbott. We're continuing our responsible gun ownership series, and we've taken the time to kind of give folks an idea about safety and storage. Now we're going to talk about purchasing the actual firearms. And so in order to do that, what are some of the things we need to keep in mind?
Well, there are a couple of different styles of pistols, and that's what we want to cover today. You have your revolver, and then you have your semi-automatic.
Right.
We're going to focus this primarily on personal concealed carry and protection. So we'll look at some of the smaller guns. We may get a few of the bigger ones out later. But primarily, I want the viewer to know the difference between when we say a revolver and where it fits into its application. And they do have applications in personal protection and concealed carry. And then the semi-automatic, which is what most people are most familiar with now. Back in the cowboy days, everything was a revolver. But as the semi-automatic became prominent in the early 1900s, 1911 as being one of the more common dates for the semi-automatic to come in. But let's move over to the bench, KB, and I'll explain. I'm better at showing people than I am telling people sometimes. What we have here, and as you'll notice, both of these firearms are in holsters that cover the trigger. That's important whenever you're looking at a holster. But these are the two types of firearms that we deal with primarily. I'm going to pull this out, going to clear it, make sure. So this is a revolver, and it gets that terminology because this cylinder revolves. Every time you pull the trigger and pull the hammer back, it will revolve to the very next hole. So this is a 5-shot 38 special. And we'll go over the calibers, in another episode here. But this is very commonly used in concealed carry, sometimes as a backup gun. Some people want to carry two guns. You have an outside available gun, and then this could work as in your boot gun.
I was going to say boot gun.
With an ankle holster. This is also easy to put in a backpack or in a briefcase, purse, things like that, and we'll cover.
I don't know that from personal experience, by the way, but I know they make purses that women can carry firearms.
They do, and same thing with backpacks and anything like that. The thing about that is it's not attached to your body, so you are responsible for that. If you'll set your purse down while you're having lunch, or for whatever reason, or in your cart while you're at Walmart, somebody can grab that purse, there goes your gun. So there's pros and cons of having that. But we go over that in the concealed carry class as well.
Very good.
So let's get back to the basics. This is a revolver, and it's pretty easy to figure out why it's a revolver, because the cylinder revolves. There's no safety on it. The safety, again, is the fact that my finger is outside of the trigger well. This is a double action revolver, and by double action means that by pulling the trigger it does two or more things. So we know this is unloaded. There's nothing in this cylinder here at all. So I am going to pull the trigger on this one, but I want to show you the difference between single action and a double action. In a double action revolver, when I'm pulling this trigger, the hammer's coming back, the cylinder is rotating as well. When I get back to the break point, it slams forward. There's a pin on the end of the hammer. It hits the shell and sends the bullet down range. So that is double action. It's doing two or more things. Rotating the cylinder, pulling the hammer back, dropping the hammer, and in the firing position. In a single action setup, you can pull this back. All right, see how this trigger comes back?
Yes.
Against the frame a little bit better. So you don't have that long pull. There's not a hesitation there. It doesn't take time. It has just a very limited amount of pullback before it releases this.
Very almost what they call a hair trigger.
It does.
You have to learn to differentiate between the two.
Right. And so whenever you're dealing with this particular firearm, if you pull it out in a self-defense situation, typically you're just going to go into double action mode. You're just going to pull the trigger. From an accuracy standpoint, and if you notice, this only has about a 2-inch barrel on it. This gun is accurate to about 10 feet. I mean, in all intents and purposes. But in the idea of self-protection and a concealed carry, that's really all you're concerned with. You're not here to shoot somebody that's 25 yards away with you with a revolver.
Most of the time it's going to be
they're going to be on
close
you.
range.
Right. So that's the place for this particular style of gun is somebody in a self-defense situation, they are on you. All right, and you want to get them off of you. Again, we're going to put this back in its holster. This is a similar sized gun, only in a semi-automatic.
Right.
All right, again, has a holster that covers the trigger well. This is a Kimber, what they call a Micro 9, 9mm. It's a semi-automatic. By semi-automatic, that means this slide does all of the work of the cylinder. Where the cylinder's rotating to load a different round, this slide does the same thing. And when it slides back, it picks one up out of this magazine. And again, I've checked these before we went on air to make sure that there was no ammunition in the magazine. So I take the ammo source away from it. I'm going to rack this back. Again, I'm going to visually look inside there.
Right.
Would you concur?
I will.
All right, so there's no ammunition in this firearm. You notice it locks the hammer back. That's okay on this gun. You keep the trigger up on that, or the safety up on that, and that will not let it go off. And in a lot of cases, this style of pistol is carried with that hammer back. So, and by the semi-automatic, what happens, as soon as I take the safety off, and you'll notice this has a blade style trigger. It doesn't move very far either. Much like the pistol in single action. So accuracy with this is much better than shooting this in double action. And you don't have to think about it. Whenever the hammer's back, pull that, bang, goes bang. So whenever that goes forward, this is going to cycle, pick up the next round off the magazine, throw it back in the chamber, keep that hammer back, pull the trigger, goes bang. It does all of this semi-automatically. I want to say automatically, but you still have to pull the trigger every time you want it to go bang. So these are the two most common types of firearms used in concealed carry, personal protection, target shooting, things like that in today's world.
So we will graduate up to the next level.
We will. This is your concealed carry setup. Let's go to the bigger framed, maybe what I would consider a range gun, or something if you want to, if you're in law enforcement or you want to open carry. I'm going to take these two, place them over here so that we don't get confused.
So Tom went to the gun safe, and we've graduated quite extensively here, Tom. We've gone from a 38 and the Kimber 9 to a 44 the 44 Magnum handgun, and then the 1911, which is a 45. So, wow, that's quite the quite the graduation.
These are two extremes.
Right.
These are not concealed carry guns, but they're fun guns to shoot, and they're very accurate, and they have their own responsibilities, I would say. The 1911 can be carried. They make a shorter version of this. It comes in a 45 ACP, 45 caliber, and we'll go over the different caliber sizes, but just a simple explanation is the bigger the number, the bigger the bullet. That is basically how, so a 44 Magnum versus the 38, so 44 is bigger than 38 considerably, and we'll show those. But I just thought the viewers might like to see the differences in size between, say, you know, a 38 concealed carry gun and my own, one of my personal favorite hand cannons, I like to call it. And you'll see that later on when we do get out to the range with these things. It's got a little bit of a kick to it.
Just a little.
Yeah, might want to have a wrist brace ready when we're done with this one. But just a little bit of fun. Again, first thing we're going to do is kick that cylinder out and make sure that there is nothing in that cylinder.
Empty.
One of the things you'll notice, this is a 5-shot, this is a 6-shot, much bigger frame. This is the modern version of the Old West 6-shooter, and that's why they call them a 6-shooter, because they typically held 6 shots. Those were typically in either 44 or 45, 45 Long Colt being one of the brands. But, you know, these are the modern version of the old style pistols that won the West. Not quite a dirty, hairy gun, but very similar. But this is a 45 or a 44 Magnum, stainless steel, polished stainless steel, fun to shoot. The 45 is the semi-automatic version of the little Micro 9 Kimber that we just showed. Only it's in a bigger version, 45 caliber. And it is also, again, semi-automatic. We've got the magazine out.
Yes.
I'm going to lock this slide back. So again, we can see in there that there's no bullets, no projectiles in there. The magazine source, which is the ammo source, is out of it. This is a fun gun to shoot. It does have a compensator on the front, so it keeps the nose from wanting to kick up. 45 is a decent caliber.
It's a nice thing about firearms these days. There's a lot of things you can add to them. Plenty of add-ons, something like that. And also things to suppress the flash. A lot of other things.
That's what keeps Iron Eagle Tactical in business. We
That's
sell
right.
a lot of accessories for firearms. So yes, you're either, when you're a hot rodder and you want to buy wheels and superchargers and all that stuff for your cars, you want to buy the same types of accessories for your guns.
So we spent some time today with Tom Abbott from Iron Eagle Tactical, looking at the variety of handguns that you might consider, anything from a 38 Special and a Kimber 9 all the way up to a 44 Magnum or that 1911, a beautiful 1911 45 that I'm sure you're very proud of, a great firearm to have in your collection.
One of the few firearms I'll never sell.
That's right. So we're going to wrap up this segment of Responsible Gun Ownership with Tom, Iron Eagle Tactical. What are we going to tackle next episode?
Well, now that we've learned the different types of guns, we're going to learn the types of calibers that they shoot. And the caliber is the size of the bullet that goes in each gun. So we're going to break it down from a concealed carry standpoint, from a home protection standpoint, and what the different types of ammunition are.
We'll do that next time right here on What's Burnin' on Lake TV.